18 years, not even a handshake. My name's Elias Monroe. I'm 54 years old. And until a few weeks ago, I was the senior driver at Highline Freight Syndicate out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Started back when it was just Arthur Granger, his son, and 3 beat-up trucks with more rust than chrome. We built something real. Over time, we had 35 rigs running routes across the South and Midwest. Contracts with major players. And then, new management showed up, with clipboards, with suits, with no idea what makes freight really move. When Highline got bought out by an investment group last winter, I knew the winds were shifting, but I didn't expect to be the first one they tried to cut loose. The new ops manager, Braden Chase, didn't know the first thing about diesel or downtime. He had an MBA, slick hair, and shiny shoes that had never seen the inside of a truck cab. The kind of guy who refers to people as cost units in meetings. That morning, I'd just rolled in from a 3-day haul out to Amarillo, on time. No incidents, just like always. He called me into his glass office like he was doing me a favor. The papers were already printed. He barely looked up. Elias, we've been reviewing operational efficiencies. Your compensation package is nearly double what we can pay a new driver out of Knoxville Tech. I stood there still smelling like road grit, nodding slowly. It's nothing personal, he added. It never is. I didn't argue. Didn't remind him that Hampton Produce had stayed with us all these years because I once helped their logistics manager move her mother out of a flooded nursing home. Or that Riser Distributors only renewed because I rerouted a holiday shipment during an ice storm twice. 18 years, 0 accidents, never missed a delivery. I signed the termination papers without looking. Left my keys, my badge, my fuel card. In the parking lot, I sat in my pickup staring out over the Knoxville skyline, thinking about all the clients who'd started as shipping accounts and turned into Christmas cards, backyard BBQs, and wedding invites. They didn't just fire a driver. They broke something. When I got home, Ruth wasn't there, still on shift at the hospital. I brewed some coffee the way she likes it. Sat at the kitchen table watching the sky shift from orange to ash. I pulled out my old logbooks, thick binders filled with dates, notes, and little memories scribbled in the margins. They could take the truck, but they didn't own the trust I'd built mile by mile. The text started that night. First from Lloyd Hampton himself. Heard what happened. Those suits lost their minds. Let's meet. Then one from George at Riser. Tell me this isn't true. If it is, let's talk. By morning, I had 6 more. I didn't reply. Not yet. But then the phone rang. It was Arthur Granger. 80 years old now, voice slow but still sharp. Damn shame, he said without hello. I never should have sold the company. You had no choice, Arthur. Your wife, her care. Still, he cut in. We built that place on trust. On handshakes and miles. Not metrics and spreadsheets. I didn't know what to say, so I just said thank you. The next morning, I met Lloyd at Ridgeway Cafe. He didn't waste time. You saved us more times than I can count, he said. That storm in 19. The warehouse fire. You showed up when no one else could. I shrugged. Just doing my job. No, you did more. You gave a damn. He leaned in. We've got a 30-day exit clause in our contract with Highline. I'm ready to pull it. Who are you driving for next? Truth was, I had no idea. Not yet. But that question stuck with me. By lunchtime, I'd talked with George. By dinner, Shannon from Crestmont Foods. All of them said the same thing. Where you go, we go. And that night, while staring out from my porch, I made the call. To an old friend. Cal, I said. You still driving? Barely, he replied. Been thinking about getting out altogether. I've got another idea. He went quiet. You serious, Elias? More than ever. We talked into the saw to the night. What it'd take to start fresh. Licenses. Insurance. Just 2 trucks. A dispatch system. A place to park. And clients. Which turns out I had. 3 days later, I walked back into Highline. Not to beg, but to collect my thermos and say goodbye to the younger drivers. I'd mentored, guys like Malik and Carlos. Good kids. Solid drivers. Braden spotted me in the break room. Stormed over, eyes cold. You're not allowed in here. Just grabbing my things, I said, holding up a photo of Ruth and the kids. He sneered. I've heard you've been calling our clients. They've been calling me, I said. That's solicitation, he warned. You signed a non-compete. Check the date, I said. Arthur's contract expired years ago. Jenkins made sure of it. Braden froze. He hadn't checked. "But this is your only warning," he snapped. "Stay away from our accounts or we'll come after you." I nodded once, calm. "Good luck," I said, and walked out. That night, I called Arthur again. "Braden's threatening legal action," I said. "Let him try," Arthur grunted. "I designed those contracts. Nothing enforceable left. He's bluffing." Good, because I wasn't backing down. The next morning, I opened a new notebook. Blank pages. Title: Munro and Becker Freight. Planning draft. First entry: it's not about revenge. About rebuilding the right way. You know what happens when you treat people like numbers. They start remembering they're more than that. 3 days after I walked out of Highline's office for the last time, Cal and I sat across from each other at the kitchen table. Coffee, legal pads, a laptop that barely ran Excel, the bones of an idea. We weren't building revenge. We were building something better, something honest. Cal had already pulled the basics: licensing, DOT filings, insurance packages. Expensive, yeah, but our records were clean. And more importantly, I had clients willing to shift freight if we could move it fast, reliable, and right. "You really think they'll follow us?" he asked, cautious. "I don't think," I said. "I know." I showed him the messages again. Lloyd Hampton, George from Riser, Shannon from Crestmont. They weren't threatening Highline. They were promising us. We called our new outfit Munro and Becker Freight, registered the name, opened a business account, leased a tiny office at the edge of an old warehouse park just outside Knoxville. One desk, one folding chair, and a secondhand coffee maker that burned the pot if you left it on more than 20 minutes. But it was ours. We didn't start big, just 3 trucks. 2 were used Peterbilts we found from a retired hauler in Johnson City. 1 was a Kenworth that Cal managed to secure on a sweetheart lease because the seller used to run with his brother back in the day. We painted them a deep navy blue. Added our silver logo with a hawk in flight. Looked sharp against the chrome. Looked like something you could trust. While Cal ran the licensing maze, I got on the phone. We didn't pitch. We talked. Every call went the same. "Elias, wherever you're hauling, that's where we're shipping." One by one, we lined up conditional contracts. 20% here. Half loads there. Small test runs. They were watching to see if we could do it before giving us the full keys. Fair enough. But we needed more than trucks. We needed people. That's when I got a call from Shannon Briggs. She'd been a dispatcher at Highline for over a decade. Knew every client by voice. Every route by memory. Quiet, efficient, better than any GPS system. Her voice was low, almost whispering. "Elias, you got a minute. Always. It's worse than you know." She told me that Braden had brought in a consultant. Not to grow the company, but to squeeze it. He was reviewing every client contract, looking for excuses to raise rates and reduce services. And that wasn't the worst of it. They're planning to shut the Knoxville terminal down in 4 months. My stomach dropped. Move the whole operation to Kansas City. Something about tax incentives. Everyone here is going to be laid off. They just don't know it yet. "You sure?" I saw the relocation documents myself. Braden left them on his desk. I didn't sleep that night. This wasn't just about me anymore. There were families depending on those jobs. People who'd given decades to that company. And they were being blindsided, cut out of the loop like they were excess weight on a spreadsheet. This was personal now. The next day, Cal showed up with 2 large coffees and a folder of updated paperwork. "I think we're ready to haul." I nodded, still processing everything Shannon had told me. "We might have a bigger job than we thought," I said. Cal raised an eyebrow. "We're not just saving ourselves. We might be the lifeboat for a lot of people." He sat down across from me. "Then we better build something strong enough to carry them." We met with the bank that afternoon, laid out our plan, showed them the conditional contracts, explained the equipment we had and the clients backing us. They offered us a modest line of credit, enough for first month rent on a warehouse lease, 1 part-time mechanic, fuel, insurance, initial payroll for 4 drivers. That was our line in the dirt. Shannon gave her notice at Highline 2 days later. She joined us quietly, slipping into the dispatcher seat like she'd always been there. Within hours, we were scheduling test runs. And just like that, we were live. We hired our first 4 drivers. All veterans. All clean records. All recently let go or about to be. One of them, Jose, told me that Highline had started pushing rookie hires hard. They're throwing new guys in trucks they barely know how to drive. Maintenance is slipping too. That made my chest tighten. Because bad maintenance and tired rookies, that's a disaster waiting to happen. I warned him like I warned all of them, we don't cut corners. Not here. He smiled. That's why I signed up. Our first official haul. Replacement parts to Crestmont Foods. Emergency shipment. Tight window. 4 hours to make a 5-hour drive. I took it myself. Got there early. Shannon coordinated a return load to Johnson City. By the end of the week, we'd hauled 11 partials, 3 full loads, and not a single complaint. The word spread fast. Meanwhile, Highline was cracking. Drivers were leaving. Dispatch was short. Rumors about the Kansas City move were starting to leak. I didn't say a word. Didn't have to. People were putting the pieces together on their own. That weekend, I was in the yard tightening a strap on one of the trailers when a beat-up sedan pulled in. Out stepped Arthur Granger. Cane in one hand. Cardboard box in the other. "You got a minute?" he asked. "For you, always." He handed me the box. Inside 2 old CB radios, a framed photo of the first Highline truck, and a folded American flag from the original dispatch desk. "I want you to have these," he said, "because I think you're the one carrying the soul of what we built." I couldn't speak for a second. "You sure?" I was never more sure of anything. We stood in silence watching one of our drivers back a rig into the dock. "Braden doesn't get it," he said finally. "He sees trucks, numbers, charts. But you see people." I nodded. Because it was true. And I knew then this wasn't just a job. It was a responsibility. To everyone who still believed that work meant something. That loyalty mattered. That showing up again and again meant more than any spreadsheet could measure. By the end of our second week on the road, Monroe and Becker Freight was hauling 15 loads a week. Small routes mostly within Tennessee and up into Kentucky. But we were steady, reliable, and more importantly, we were being noticed. Clients weren't just talking about our speed or prices, they were talking about the way we showed up. Shannon was running dispatch like a concert conductor. Jose and the other drivers ran every route like clockwork. Cal had become our logistics guy, handling warehouse needs and repairs with a kind of quiet pride I hadn't seen in him in years. We weren't a company. We were a team. But then, the letter came. Certified. Legal firm out of Chicago. On behalf of Highline Freight Syndicate and Mr. Braden Chase. It accused us of tortious interference with contractual relations. Claimed we were soliciting their clients in violation of non-compete terms. Threatened immediate legal action unless we ceased operations. I sat with that letter in my hands for a long time. Cal looked at me from across the office. "Well," he asked. I slid it across to him. He read it, slowly, then raised an eyebrow. "They're bluffing. They're hoping we're scared." I pulled out the old contract I'd kept back when Arthur still ran Highline. The non-compete. Expired 8 years ago. And it had never included clients by name, just general industry activity within 100 miles for a 2-year period. We were well beyond all of it. "They've got nothing," Cal said, leaning back. "They've got lawyers," I corrected. I called Arthur. Told him about the letter. He let out a long sigh. "Braden's panicking. I just heard they lost Hampton Produce entirely. Lloyd cut ties yesterday." That hit me harder than I thought. Not because I wanted to win, but because I knew how much Lloyd's account meant to Highline. "He's not going to stop," I said. "He'll make it ugly." Arthur paused. "Then make it better. Not louder, just better." I passed the letter to our attorney, a quiet woman named Renee who'd worked with Cal before. She reviewed it and nodded. "Empty threats. But that won't stop them from trying to bleed you through legal fees." "What do we do?" "We don't blink," she said. "And we don't respond unless they file something in court. Until then, keep your records clean, keep your promises, and document everything." So we did. Every invoice, every call, every delivery, every handshake. 3 days later, I got a call from Doug. He was still at Highline. "Elias," he said, voice tight, "you need to know something." "Go ahead." "They're cutting maintenance again. Oil changes skipped, tires reused, brake checks delayed. We had a rig lockup outside Chattanooga. Nearly flipped. My gut twisted. "How long you staying?" "Not long," he said, "but I need the paycheck until I find something. Call me when you're ready." That same week, we got another surprise. Crestmont Foods called. They wanted to increase their freight volume with us. Said our delivery window was tighter than they'd seen in years. Then 2 days later, Riser. followed by 3 smaller outfits from the Knoxville area. It wasn't flashy, but it was happening. We weren't just picking up clients. We were building trust. One night, as I locked up the terminal, Cal and I stood outside watching the sun dip behind the hills. "We started with 3 trucks," he said. "Now we've got 6, I replied. "And 2 more in inspection." He smiled. "You ever think we'd get this far?" I nodded, but not this fast. Back inside, Shannon had left a note on my desk. "Doug and Carlos coming over next week. 2 more drivers ready after that. We'll need more routes." I tapped the pen on the paper. We were scaling. And for the first time, I wasn't worried about it. Because this team, they weren't here for a paycheck. They were here because we gave a damn. Meanwhile, Highline was hemorrhaging. 2 clients left in a single week. Word on the CB was that Braden had cut salaries again. Was offering bonuses to rookies just to keep loads moving. Desperation wears a scent. And every hauler in the Southeast could smell it. Then came the second legal letter. This one was more aggressive. Cease and desist. Demands. Claims of theft, defamation, interference. They'd even included screenshots of our website. Renee reviewed it calm as always. "They're escalating. That's good." "Good. It means they're rattled. If they had a case, they'd file it." She sent a formal reply 4 lines long. "Allegations are baseless. All operations comply with state and federal law. No further communication unless through proper court channels." We didn't hear back. The next morning, a surprise showed up. Lloyd Hampton, in person. He walked into our warehouse in boots and a Carhartt jacket. "Just wanted to see the place," he said. I gave him a full tour. Showed him the trucks. Introduced him to Cal and Shannon. Walked the yard. When we got to the office, he paused at the door. "You know," he said, "you didn't just win our business with service." I looked at him. "You won it because you never made us feel small." He pulled out a check. Advance payment for 90 days of shipping. No conditions. Just trust. After he left, I stood in the office a long time, holding that check, remembering the day Braden told me I was just a number. That afternoon, Doug walked in, helmet in hand, face dusty from the road. "You still got room for a guy like me." I smiled. Always. Highline was down to 12 trucks by then, 4 of them parked. Drivers quitting midweek. Calls bouncing between Kansas City and Knoxville as Braden tried to hold things together. But there's a kind of weight you can't carry alone. And loyalty. That can't be bought back once it's been burned. You can't watch a fire start, try to warn the house, and not feel something when the walls begin to fall. That's what it felt like watching Highline go down. I didn't cheer. I didn't smile. But I felt it. A slow ache for what had once been. And a quiet satisfaction that maybe, just maybe, the right things still mattered. It began with the Corner Bridge account. That was Highline's biggest contract. Covered over 30% of their routes. A legacy client, same one I used to personally handle. When they called and asked for a meeting, I knew something was shifting. I drove out to their main facility, sat across from their director of logistics, and waited. She didn't waste time. "We've had 6 missed shipments in 8 weeks, she said. Poor communication. Rushed routes. Maintenance issues. It's hurting our reliability." I didn't say a word. She looked at me, eyes clear. "We know you've started something new. Can your outfit take on 1/3 of our volume?" I exhaled. "Yes, and we'll earn the rest." 2 days later, I got confirmation. They were out. Braden hadn't seen it coming. Corner Bridge accounted for millions in revenue. Losing it triggered a clause in one of their credit lines. Within a week, they were missing payroll. Drivers started walking out, mechanics too. Rumors spread that Braden was trying to sell quietly, but no one was buying. Because by now, everyone knew. The trust was gone. Shannon got a message from one of her old coworkers. "We're not getting parts for maintenance anymore," the driver said. "They told us to make do until next quarter." "Make do," I repeated. With 18-wheelers hauling 20 tons. Cal leaned against the doorway. "It's going to get dangerous." It already was. One afternoon, I stopped by the yard just outside town where I knew Highline kept their overflow trailers. It was half empty. Some rigs still sat idle, sun-faded, and neglected. I parked across the road, didn't get out. Just watched. And in one moment, just for a second, I saw Braden through the office window. Standing alone. Phone to his ear. Pacing. He looked smaller than I remembered. He was watching something fall apart and didn't know how to stop it. I thought I'd feel something sharper. But all I felt was done. Back at our yard, it was a different scene. 16 trucks, 2 dispatchers, 4 mechanics, 27 employees. We were humming. Every morning I walked the lot with a mug of coffee, nodding to each driver as they loaded up. Drive safe, Eric. Tell that boy of yours happy birthday, Lisa. Jose, run light today, no need to rush. We had more business than ever, but we didn't move fast at the cost of doing things right. That was our edge, and it was working. Then came the offer. It arrived in a sealed envelope delivered by courier. Letterhead from Braden himself. The message was simple. Highline Freight is seeking acquisition. You've been identified as a strategic candidate. He wanted us to buy the scraps. The yard, the equipment, the logo even. I read it twice, then left it on my desk. Cal walked in, picked it up. He's serious. Looks like it. Are we doing it? I shook my head. We're not building on burned ground. That night I sat on the porch with Ruth. Told her everything. About the offer. The condition of the company. The history. She sipped her tea and looked at me. You started this because you believed in something she said. Not because you wanted to own what they broke. She was right. I didn't want Highline's skeleton. I wanted something alive. I never called Braden back. Never replied to the letter. Didn't need to. The next week, Highline formally declared bankruptcy. Their yard closed, lights out. The logo taken down piece by piece. Arthur showed up at our terminal the day the news broke. Walked through the yard slow, like a man visiting an old friend's grave. I hate that it ended this way, he said. But it ended, I replied. He nodded, then smiled, and something better began. The next morning, we had orientation for 6 new drivers, all from Highline. We walked them through policies, maintenance logs, route expectations, pay scale. At the end, I told them what I told every new hire. This isn't a job, it's a promise. You give us your best, and we'll give you ours. One of them, Tanya, raised her hand. I just want to know one thing, she said. Will we matter here? I looked at her. You already do. We bought 3 of Highline's trucks at auction. Used, beat up, but fixable. Our mechanics took their time, tuned them, cleaned them, made them roadworthy again. We rebranded them. Same navy blue, same silver hawk. New names, new purpose. One afternoon, I drove out to our furthest client drop in South Carolina. Just me, no need, but I wanted to feel it again. Wanted to remember what it was like before all of this. Before the loss. Before the rebuild. On the way back, I stopped at a rest station. Watched the sun melt over the trees. And thought about the road. Not the miles, but the meaning. What you carry, and who you carry it for. It had been 4 months since I was let go. A signature on a paper, a quiet walk to my truck, and a gut punch no one saw but me. Now, here I was, standing in the yard of the company I helped build from the ground up. Not Highline, not theirs, ours. Monroe and Becker Freight. 17 trucks, 38 employees, 6 corporate contracts, and 0 interest in becoming what we'd left behind. That morning I arrived at the terminal early, pre-dawn, coffee in hand. The lot was silent but full. Engine still cold, but something about it felt warm, alive. Cal walked out from the garage, wiping grease off his hands. You're in early, he said. Habit, I shrugged. Truth was, I didn't sleep much the night before. Something had shifted, and I didn't know what yet. By 7 a.m., the yard was moving. Drivers checking manifests, Shannon double-checking the morning routes. Laughter near the coffee machine. One of the newer hires, Reggie, brought in fresh donuts. You don't win hearts with cargo, he said. You win them with sugar. The crew laughed. Then a silver sedan pulled into the lot. Unfamiliar. It parked, engine running for a while before the door opened. And out stepped Braden Chase. Same slick hair, new suit. But he looked smaller, paler, tired. The yard quieted. He walked slowly toward the terminal, and everyone stopped what they were doing. Not out of fear, but curiosity. Because no one expected to ever see him again. Least of all me. I stepped out from the office, met him halfway. He extended a hand. I didn't take it. Elias, he said, can we talk? I didn't move for a second, then nodded once. Led him into the side room where we kept spare uniforms and inventory sheets. He sat, adjusted his collar. I stood. I just wanted to say, he started. But I raised my hand. You here to apologize, I asked. He blinked, that and more. I said nothing. He exhaled. You were right. About all of it. About the people, the relationships, the trucks. I thought I could streamline my way to success, but you gutted it, I said. Quiet, not cruel. I did, he admitted. He looked around the room. This place, it's what I tried to build, but I didn't understand how. I still didn't speak. He leaned forward. I've taken a job in consulting now. Corporate restructuring. But I've been telling people, not everything can be cut and replaced. I watched him. He was searching for closure, maybe even forgiveness. But I'd already given myself both. Still, I offered him a small nod. Not a handshake. Not a welcome back. Just understanding. He stood. Thank you, he said. And then he left. That evening, Ruth and I sat out on the porch again. She held a glass of sweet tea. I held the silence. What's on your mind? She asked. I looked out over the yard beyond our fence where fireflies blinked like old memories. I saw Braden today. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. And he said sorry. She waited. And I believed him. I took a sip of water, let the moment breathe. But I didn't need it. Because the truth was, I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I wasn't chasing anything. I was here, standing in something we built from scratch with people who cared for clients, who trusted on roads that still held meaning. A few days later, Arthur stopped by. He walked the yard slower than usual, cane tapping gently on the pavement. When he got to me, he smiled. You done good, he said. You too, I replied. You know, he added, when I sold Highline, I thought I was handing off a legacy. You were, I said, just not in the way you thought. He chuckled. Maybe some things skip a generation. We stood in the lot together watching our trucks roll out one by one. Lisa waved from the cab. Jose honked twice. Tanya flashed a peace sign through her side window. Good people. Doing honest work. 2 weeks later, we got a letter from the local small business chamber. Entrepreneurial Excellence Award. Monroe and Becker Freight. We didn't throw a party. Just bought barbecue for the staff. Shared stories. Passed around paper plates. Let everyone bring their families. That night, one of our youngest drivers, Darnell, pulled me aside. I didn't know what kind of place this was going to be, he said. But now, I don't want to drive anywhere else. I clapped his shoulder. Just help us keep it that way. On the anniversary of our first delivery, I took the Peterbilt I'd bought off that retired hauler in Johnson City truck number 01 and drove the old route to Crestmont. It was symbolic, but it was also a reminder. Because sometimes when you've come full circle, the best thing to do is retrace your first steps and walk them better. At the end of that day, I came home, took off my boots, sat on the porch again. Ruth handed me a folded slip of paper. What's this? She smiled. Just something I found in the back of your old logbook. I opened it. It was a note I'd written to myself years ago, back when I was still driving full-time for Highline. Scrawled in messy pen, tired handwriting. If they ever forget what I'm worth, maybe it's time I remember it myself. I sat there a long time, watching the sky turn from blue to gold, and realized I already had.